He's from Skara, and Alice is from Phoenix. And Rebecca has just joined us. She's from Ward 34. And of course, everybody knows Assad and everybody knows Sol. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I don't know if somebody else would like to have a first bite at the cherry. I must admit, I have not had a chance to look at the council minutes with everything that's been going on in my life. So I'm very unprepared for any representation. I think from my side, I would just like to say that every year for the last 3 years now that I've been involved in this, it's been a copy and paste exercise really with the municipality. It is a given that they do an increase. And I think at some point they need to understand or have a look and have a consideration for the fact that not every person gets an increase in their remuneration every year. I have not given any increases to my staff for the last few years. So my staff have had to absorb any increases they have to pay. So I think it's about time government stops just assuming that there must be an increase. Not everybody gets an increase every year. The cost of living has obviously dramatically increased. We've had to bear the brunt of male administration. And we know, I mean, it's no secret that the Cape Town rates are far lower than Durban rates, yet we get far less service standard or service delivery than Cape Town. So for me, there's no comparison to what we're paying and what we are receiving. Our roads are in a mess. Our street lights, it's non-existent. We've got half of our ward is in darkness every night. Our litter is not being collected. Half the time we don't have water. So what are we actually paying for? But yet we are seeing double-digit increases every single year when we ourselves as business owners have not been able to get an increase in our revenue generation. So there's a complete disconnect between government's expectations and what the citizens are able to deliver. It's like we're just being beaten, we have to just accept it. So that's just as a general for me, without having actually prepared and honed in on the figures. That's just as a general, the feeling I'm getting from ratepayers associations and members across the board.
Electricity is proposed to be increased by 12.72%. And then water, the proposal is for residential is 15%, business is 15%. Then sanitation, residential 15%, and then business 14%. Then the refuse collection, residential is 9.9%, and then business 9%. So these are tariffs as proposed by eThekwini municipality. So as councillors, when we go next week to deliberate on the budget, we will be expected to approve this budget. But as the say, we have obviously our strong objection, because firstly, some of these tariffs are beyond inflation. And also, if you look at how much we pay Umgeni, we are paying more than the tariff Umgeni is have increased water. We are paying more than what ESCOM has also given us. Those are concerns, as I say. But also, if you get water, for example, eThekwini is sitting at 8% water loss. That's a reality.
Correct.
Now, part of our concern is actually the same forecast is we seem to say we push the burden to the ratepayers for the failures of the municipality. Because it is the municipality that is paying to fix infrastructure. It is the municipality that is paying to make sure there's good governance within the system. There is so much wasteful expenditure in this council. But we don't want to preempt the views of ratepayers. Hence, we said, let's listen to you and hear your views. And also, as I said, give us a mandate. We are going to debate tomorrow. We were voted by the community. Hence, we believe we can't go there represent ourselves. We must go there represent the communities. They voted for us to be there in council. So we must be your voice. Hence, we believe that today is a platform where you can give us a clear mandate. How would you want actually as a workers to go there and vote next week when the budget is being tabled? So I'll just allow, just raise your voice when I speak, because I don't want to make you see hands.
Okay. Good evening, Zwakile, and thank you for the time to hear our concerns. First of all, I think the entire budget is gone about the wrong way. Every business finds what they have and tries to fit into their budget into what revenue they have. Our municipality says, well, this is what we need, and let's go and find it from our ratepayers. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's beyond acceptable. There's a number of factors. You look at the budget that they've given us, and I've been through hundreds of different documents. I've managed to finally get some things from the municipality on a searchable formats, and I've been able to put things together. The first question is, why is there a 3 billion rand surplus in the budget? That's more than the rate pay. That's more than the rates and taxes increase. You don't need a 3 billion surplus in the budget. And that's what they budgeted. They budgeted 3 million surplus. That covers the entire rates and base increase. If you take the percentage that they want, they don't need to increase rates and taxes at all. From my side, water, I can understand that there needs to be an increase because they're getting an increase from their reseller of a product.
Yeah.
But why must we fund their inability to not provide that? In other words, the water loss is beyond a joke. You look at and I've attended a lot of meetings, including their short-term goals, the key performance areas, and their key performance areas is to reduce water loss by 5%. That's beyond it. It should be 20%. They need to reduce it to come in line, and should be aiming to get a 30%. Sorry, they're trying to reduce it by 2% loss per year. So they're accepting that it's going to go from 58 to 56. They've been trying to do this for 3 years, and every year it's increased the water loss. So they completely beyond a joke. And whilst I accept that there needs to be a slight increase, people need to be taken to account and dealt with who are not delivering the end product. It's, if you've got a CEO of a company and the company's failing, you don't give him a raise and continue with him. The guy in charge of water and the acting city manager make every excuse in the book. If it was in a normal company, they would be gone a long time ago. So what we demand is that heads roll and competent people are put in place. No rate increase on rates and taxes for the properties, because that's something we cannot. Water, we can reduce our water consumption and hopefully reduce our cost. Electricity, we can reduce our electricity costs and somehow reduce our usage and then reduce our costs. But rates and taxes, we can't do anything to save any money. Increases, the economy is falling apart. We've got a president who goes to try and get money from the States or build our economy through the US, and at the same time as killing it on the other side. But rates and taxes we cannot do anything about, and that we shouldn't have any rates and taxes increase. Number one. Number two, salary increases across the board for the entire team. The key performance areas and the key performance areas, in order for us to get the 3 billion rand from Treasury for our turnaround strategy, says we have to reduce costs. But we continue to increase and increase. There should be not a single increase for a single solitary person in municipality. Full stop. No increases, not negotiable. Especially people in management and higher. If you look at and then we go across to the 7 billion rands worth of infrastructure, and you pull down all the figures, it's 4 billion rand, 4.1 billion rand is going to be spent in the wards. That's spent in 111 wards. 111 wards. 4.1 billion is going to be spent in the wards. Now, I look at Umhlanga, and I look at Musgrave, and I look at our tax base, and there's a discussion that, because we don't actually know the figures, but I'm pretty convinced that Ward 35 probably has the highest tax rates base in the country, without a doubt. I know Ahmed said no, Musgrave has, but I'm just looking at the figures. Lower Umhlanga alone has a rates base of over 15 billion rand. That's just Umhlanga. Okay. You've still got La Lucia, you've got Umhlanga Ridge, you've got La Lucia, not Glen Ashley, Prestondale, you've got Umhlanga Gateway, which is all in Ward 35. We are by far well in excess of 100 billion rands worth of rates and taxes. Yet they're spending 22 million rand on infrastructure in our ward.
Sorry, Zokele, can I come in quickly?
Yeah.
Zokele, I mentioned I'm in another meeting, and I agreed to jump into this meeting. I don't know if I can just exit and excuse me, but I have to get back to my meeting.
Sure. Yeah, no, go ahead, Assad. Absolutely, go ahead.
Thanks, Zokele. Thanks, all. So, Zokele, the question you asked is, what mandate do you want from the ratepayers? And that is the question on the table for tonight. So, I can tell you, in terms of our members and the people that are affiliated to our association, it's a flat, absolute no. They're not prepared to take any tariff increase. I would expect that your constituents, those who voted for Action SA, would be voicing a similar demand on Action SA to say, when you're in council next week, it's an absolute flat no. We can always dig deep into the merits as to why, but I can tell you that my concerns in terms of what documents were put forward, the devil is in the detail, and a lot of the detail is missing. As an example, how much is being spent on security, as an example, in terms of the VIP protection unit, and that's not in the budget document. So as a ratepayer, we want to know, where is our money being used, and the fact that the municipality is not spelling these things out in a clear manner means that they're hiding a lot of the stuff, and therefore we are saying, you need to prove to us that you deserve an increase, and you haven't proven it to us. Another concern that we raised in the budget meetings as well that we participated in is the the infrastructure surcharge, which each resident or each user of water is paying for, is not shown as a line item in the budget documents and in the financial documents as well. So for me, I'm asking the question as a councillor, whether you Action SA, whether you DA, whether you ANC, whoever you are, how are you voting on something when you yourself don't even have the information? And that is for us a concern as a ratepayer. So that's my input for tonight. Thank you.
100%. Well said.
So I did stop you. Just continue and also allow others to make input. You can't get through as well.
So I've done the sums, and out of the 7.6 billion capital expenditure, only 4.1 is being spent in the wards, and 3 billion is being used for other items within the municipality. That's not ward specific. So if you've got 4.1 billion on capex in the ward, Umhlanga Ward 35, which is La Lucia, etc., is getting 0.0005% of that spend. And if you look at all the wards, and I don't have a problem with Umhlanga, what's the word I'm looking for? Not sponsoring, but funding a lot of the other developments for wards that don't have money. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. But when you look at the 0.005% of the budget's being spent in the ward is being spent in Ward 35, it's just unacceptable. We should be getting, an equitable share. If there's 100 wards, we should at least be getting maybe half a percent of the spend. We've got massive sewage issues, and everyone's got massive sewage issues. But the sewage issues here depend on tourism. The tourism is entire eThekwini region. When our seas are dirty, nobody comes. It affects everybody. So the budget, the way they've put the budget together just doesn't make any sense, and the spend is completely incorrect. Salary increases across the board are going up. Unacceptable. Salaries should not be increased. If you work, Alison has already indicated, her staff haven't had an increase in 2 years. Our municipality staff who don't perform are getting a fat increase every single year, and a 13th check and a bonus. It's just completely irrational and unacceptable that the 10% of the rate of the people who actually pay rates are funding the entire eThekwini municipality, and the people are incompetent and don't perform their jobs. So, I can go on and on and on. I think in a nutshell, I'm quite happy to say the previous speaker to say, no, there's no increases, 0 increases. And that's it. Fix the problems, fire the people that aren't doing it, start at the top, remove the people that are incompetent, and take a new fresh at it. The key performance areas that have been this turnaround strategy that has been in place for 2 years, they still haven't been able to produce the water turnaround strategy. They're still working on it after 2 years. Come on. No, this is beyond a joke.
I think, and obviously we need to allow anybody else that want to comment as well. I would like to know, how is this 50% debt write-off going to impact on those that do actually pay their bills? Whilst it seems like a good austerity measure, I'm concerned that we are, one, creating a precedent of non-payers. Number two, those figures were calculated into the budget that is being supposedly produced. And now it's going to be unaccounted for. So what's going to happen next year in terms of increases? Because somewhere along the line, this 50% write-off has to be brought into account into the figures. So who's ultimately going to end up paying for that?
So,
you're cultivating a precedent of don't pay and the city will eventually write it off, and that's unacceptable. My other question is also, what is being done with the ITB land? Because some of those properties and some of those owners of those properties earn more money than I make in a year. But they, unfortunately for me, fortunately for them, don't have to pay the fees that we have to pay. That is unjust administration. If that had to be challenged in court in terms of paja, I can't understand or even think that a court could make a ruling in favor of the city. That's not equal administration. It's just simply not. It's not justifiable.
yeah, sorry, if I can just add to Alison's point, okay, about
just for the issue of debt relief, it is a concern that we also raise.
Yeah, page 89 of the April council minutes, I think. Mm. Like,
Because currently it seems as if few residents of the eThekwini are funding the masses in eThekwini. That you was addressed. So I agree with you. I see Alice there. You want to say something? You're on mute? You're on mute.
Unmuting. There we go. Unmuting. Thank you so much. Can you hear me now?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. I was just waiting for my esteemed colleagues to say what they wanted to. And I totally agree with them, with Assad, with Saul, and with Alison. A couple of things that I raised at the budget meeting that was held in Phoenix. And these are my points. I know we've discussed it, but it just goes to show the similarity of thought across the board by ratepayers and civics. Number one, I've got and I've done this in writing as well to the mayor's office, to which I haven't had a response. One is a moratorium on salaries for all municipal staff, eThekwini municipality staff. And what is the consequence management for poor performance or non-performance? Two was investigation housing development that's continuing in Phoenix. I've been fighting this from 2018. And I said to the mayor that he is solely, the office of the mayor is solely responsible for the collapsed infrastructure in Phoenix, because they have been approving and authorizing the building of homes through a criminal who is now late, the late Jay Singh, who is the owner of Woodley's development and his series of shelf companies. And he's got litigation bouncing from one shell company to another. And they have allowed this building development to continue, which is severely impacted on the water, electricity, and sewage infrastructure in Phoenix. And we've talked till we blue in the face about this, and nothing's been done. I'm hoping that this will be taken by Action SA at the budget meeting when you're voting. And the other point I want to raise is I said to the mayor also at that meeting that there has to be a rebuild of trust between the people of eThekwini or the people of Phoenix and the municipality, because that trust is depleted. There is no trust between its ratepayers and the municipality. And the only way that trust is going to be rebuilt is by way of bringing to the table service delivery that we are paying. The other point that I raised was recoveries department. There is non-existent recoveries department at eThekwini municipality. Monies are lost through maladministration, fraud, corruption, people receiving envelopes, giving envelopes, tenderpreneurship, all of the nasties that go on behind closed doors there at City Council and in KZN. Where is a recoveries department? You have a recoveries department to the ratepayers. You want to go cut the lights and water of poor people that have got no food to eat, that are living on charity. And so you look at the low-hanging fruit, the soft targets, which is your lower class, your low income homes, your middle income homes, and that is your target. Those are your victims. You're victimizing them and taking money out of their pockets, money they don't have. Majority of the people in Phoenix live on loans. There is no money. And these are the people that you are targeting to go and frighten and then come up with these stupid things like this 50% write-off. Exactly what Alison said. Who's footing the bill for that? It's still us ratepayers. That write-off is not a write-off. We are still funding it. And then you say to the people, okay, we give you 50% write-off. The remaining 50%, of that 50%, you now need to go and pay 50% of that balance. So for example, you owe 20,000, we write off 10. Of that 10, you've got to come up with 5,000 Rand to pay to municipality with immediate effect when you sign that agreement, and then the balance. If these people don't have money to pay a 2,000 Rand bill, how are you expecting people to pay monies on a bill that they've received on assessed readings? These are not actual readings. These are assessed readings. These are averages that municipality has thumb sucked. So can you see how they are bleeding the people? But you're not going after big business. You're not going after wealthy properties. Nobody's had their lights disconnected in Umhlanga and in all the high income areas or high wealth areas. None of these people have been affected. You're targeting the poor people, right? Then we've also got party politics happening in our municipality, which is damaging the service delivery. You've got the DA fighting with the ANC fighting with the IFP, Action SA, all of the parties busy fighting. And what happens when elephants fight, the grass is damaged. And we haven't seen any improvement. There's no grass anymore, because between the political parties that are fighting, the infighting, it has damaged eThekwini. It has taken us into like a sandpit. There's no grass anymore. And this has to stop. And there's got to be politicking in our city or in our province. That is like, you've got to bring back decency. You've got to bring back integrity. You've got to bring back professionalism if you're going to see the city thrive. Otherwise, we're not going to get there. The other one I want to bring up is councillors in default with their payments.
Yeah.
In the
that's what-
millions. The
Yeah.
millions. What is happening? Where's the consequent management here?
That is why we
people
got
shouldn't-
50%
yeah.
right.
These people should
Mhm.
not be serving as ward councillors. You shouldn't be a ward councillor. They need to be kicked off the bench. A by-election held, somebody else in there. You're getting paid a fat salary. You get a car allowance, you get a phone allowance, you get a housing subsidy. What more do you need? And you're still bleeding the people that have got no more blood to give. And we, the ratepayers, have to now carry the burden of defaulting councillors who can't pay their water and electricity bills. How is that rational? How are they effective in their jobs in seeing to their community? It really is a bit of a joke here. And then also the Ingonyama Trust. Exactly what you said now, Billy. Currently, I'm at the Berg. And, you know, I drove from Champagne Sport up to, I forget, Cathedral Peak. And along the way, those 5 million rand houses that you see, that you talked about, so many. And I said to my friends and family in the car, and I said, how? Explain to me how it makes any sense to build a Tuscany-style house in the Drakensberg, which is a heritage place. We should be having homes that are designed and built around what the heritage of that area is. And then there's no rates. You look at 5, 6, 10-bedroom houses, stunning, many vehicles. And this is such blatant robbery of the people that support and hold this country up. It is our money, the masses that are funding this country. And yet there's nothing. So the mandate from the Phoenix Civic and Ratepayers Association, we absolutely do not want to see increases. We do not want to see increases. We've got about 20 to 25% of our community that lives off charity, that are waiting for food delivery, bread delivery in order to live, in order to sustain. I work with families that eat every second or third day, that send their kids to school with a slice of brown bread with no butter on it. And I cannot understand how eThekwini municipality and the politicians of this country, including Action SA, can sit by and watch this happen and be numb to it. Our politicians are numb to the suffering of the people. And I was so keen to get on this discussion, because one of the things I wanted to say to you, sir, is the performance of Action SA in Phoenix has been dismal. It has had dismal leadership. There have been promises made by this party that has never been kept. And the one-time person that was heading or the caucus leader for Phoenix has sown so many seeds of discord that Action SA has a bad reputation in my community. And I also just want to leave with you is that I cover 5 wards, from Ward 48 to Ward 54. It's actually 5.5 wards. And that's a big area. It's a big area. And I'm not taking into account the pink areas around us, which is Ntezuma, Kwamashu, Inanda. I'm not even taking those areas into account. And we border all of these communities. And Phoenix is a fully gray area. We have people of all races and cultures that live in it. And we have been left fending for ourselves. The other thing you need to also take into consideration, in 2020, we had COVID. We had the riots, we had the floods. And the riots affected the Phoenix community directly. We were targeted, we were assaulted, we were maimed. The businesses in Phoenix were killed, burned to the ground. And just outside of the Phoenix Industrial Park, we have the Brideen business area, where many of our community members, our workers, general workers, blue-collared workers, service those businesses, and those businesses had to shut down. So over and above having to deal with the high rates, we're also dealing with a higher than usual unemployment rate. And I need to know, how is all of this going to be addressed? None of this is going to be addressed with the double-digit rates, tariff increases that we've had. That's my say, sir. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Alice. It was really mouthful. And I'm one of those, Alice, that I always accept criticism, because when there's a shortfall and we are human, if there are mistakes, they must be addressed, and someone must be able to tell you. And I like the fact that you are not how you, and you tell it as it is. Doesn't matter how we feel, it's okay, because it's important that we hear from you. And this platform is about that. That sometimes as politicians, we have a tendency of thinking we know it all. And if you don't engage with residents, you will never know what you are telling now. Something for me is very, very important. And I can assure you, I'm prepared that we need to have a discussion with you during the week or next week about some of these concerns, and especially around issues that relate to Action SA. We must address whatever issues that we might have. Quite correct. It is a very important community in eThekwini as well, in one of the really biggest areas where Action SA gets votes. So we need to actually come and engage with yourself as well. I really appreciate your comments. I'm not sure if there's anyone who wanted to speak there.
Yes, okay, Councillor Kupega, Musa.
Is there anyone?
Yes, okay, Councillor Kupega, Musa. Can
Okay,
I come in?
before I come to you, Musa, let me check from ratepayers if I missed any.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Alan.
Hi, I'm actually a representative of SCARA, as Alison pointed out earlier. SCARA is from the Shellcross area, Shellcross Chatsworth area, and we are a ratepayers association. In a nutshell, I don't want to take up too much of time, because this topic that we're talking about has far-reaching implications for everyone. I think many of the points that were brought up are extremely valid, and I'm sure there's more new points that can be brought in, and it will take a long time for us to exhaust all of that. What I want to contribute is that, the entire procedure with regard to the budgets is flawed right from the beginning. We don't have sufficient time to analyze budgets that are presented to us. Ward councillors don't do their job, because they don't ever sit down with the wards and the representatives there. I think they choose whichever 4 or 5 people, and then they tick the box and go ahead. There has to be a drastic shift of understanding and shift of power in a municipality. It should never be run by politicians, because these positions that are being held are crucial to money matters, service delivery. Everything revolves around that. You can't go and put a school teacher like myself to go and run water and sanitation. What do I know about it? That means I need to get people to assist me to do my job. That is where the fault of the government is, where we are employing people that don't know what they're doing. All right. These positions that are in the municipality should be advertised as normal employment, and you apply for those jobs according to your qualification and your track record, and also your previous, even, most of them are criminals already because they've been stealing money from the government all the time, but they are getting promotions. Those are the things that need to be stopped. And I can be shot for what I'm saying, but that's the fact of the matter. The rest of the goings on, for argument's sake, potholes, it's a laughable matter. Water is flowing out of the pipes, all right? But we don't have water in our taps. Does it make sense? Have you employed the correct people in the water and sanitation department to address these issues? It clearly shows that they are incompetent, because previously we didn't have these kind of issues where people knew what they were doing. You had artisans that were there, plumbers who had plumbing papers, qualifications. They knew if they come on site, they know exactly what needs to be done. And it's done and dusted. You don't have to come back next week again. So, guys, you know what? The movement that Alison has started, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it, is to shift our understanding of what local government should be. Because politicians have messed everything up completely. It is out of their ambit. They should never have been part of the municipality, the running of the municipality. Obviously, you will have political heads, but for us, we need people that know what they are doing. And a municipality needs to be transparent in their employment procedures. And the other thing is the tender system has to go, simply because it leads too much or leaves too much of doubt in regard to mismanagement of monies. Because, the municipality, for argument's sake, in Shallcross itself, a small township, where we had people that used to be employed by the municipality to cut the grass, to fix the roads, to do the plumbing, those were done on time. Whenever it was, there was a problem. Now we got to wait for the tender to go through. And then they are appointing people to come and do it. By then, the grass is now a bush. Where are we going? This tender process has to go. We need to go back to basics. And you'll save money in that manner, because people are being paid but not doing their work. Thank you, guys. I don't want to keep you too long.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, no, thank you. Maybe before we also move to a next speaker, I was checking on my phone here because I think it's Alice who raised an issue about councillors who are owing the municipality. I'm just reading the billing report in terms of last month's April. There is 84 million rand owed by employees of the municipality. 84 million rand. Councillors, there is 57 councillors owing the municipality. They are owing 2.3 million rand to the municipality. So I fully agree with your concern that shouldn't be that councillors who are passing the bylaws are the ones who are actually find themselves at fault. and it's something that we also believe that moving forward, there should be transparency. I think councillors who own the municipality need to be made public. I think these reports, when they come to committees, should come with the list of those councillors. Because whenever you ask for a list, you always get told, no, it's sent to Speaker's office. So it's a speaker who has access to this file. But bottom line is, it is really a big issue. Ingonyama Trust is currently owing the city 287 million rand.
Yeah.
So that's a feedback I can give it to you. But also there are state entities that are owing the municipality. And I think even National Treasury have raised an issue with the municipality. The fact that the city wants to borrow 1.5 billion rand. In fact, that it coming in our next meeting on Monday, there will be a recommendation that the city want to borrow 1.5 billion rand. And the process says you need to get comments from the National Treasury. And some of the comments that they raise specifically says they are concerned with the pollution rate, because our pollution rate as a city is actually sitting at 80%, which is below 95% in the norm, 95%. So which means we are not collecting what is due to the municipality, and now you go out and borrow money, which then means as you go and borrow money, and you are putting a burden to the very same budget that you are trying to address these issues. Because part of the problem is you get grants, you fail to spend. If you look at the money that the council is actually saying, we've been raising an issue with the Go Durban project, where so much money have been spent on this white elephant. If you drive around Durban, you'll see all these beautiful stops, especially if you drive from Emont to Tuntuzu, Mawamashu. You will see all these beautiful stops, but unfortunately, it's not working. It's one you've got security securing these bus stops. You have cleaners cleaning them. Already, even infrastructure is deteriorating. So you can see it's been a waste of money. Hence, National Treasury has actually withdrawn the budget and the funding for this project, because they are saying we can't keep throwing in money. Now, the big question is, this budget, we talk about 7.1 billion rand for capital projects. We also go to the infrastructure. But end of the day, you still have a crisis on storage system in our municipality. Our drainage system are really old now, are not being properly repaired. And it's a concern that we are having as a CNSA as well, to say it's not enough to all see this budget and this big amounts, but ratepayers want to see the change on the ground. Communities want to see that you are able to fix infrastructure, you are able to make sure there's no sewer to our beaches, as Saul was saying. It affects our tourism in the city. So it's one of the reasons that we are saying, as actually say, this budget doesn't really talk to the realities that we are facing as communities on the ground. But I think, Alice, you want to say something? Or
Yeah, I would actually suggest or recommend or ask that a proposal be made in council that the senior officials and councillors be excluded from taking advantage of that 50% debt relief, because therein it would show to the city that the councillors didn't just move this decision in council so that they can take advantage of that, and they know how these things work, so they should not be allowed to get a 50% discount. They must pay their debt. They should not be allowed to break the law in this manner and then pass it on to the ratepayers to foot the bill for their non-compliance. So a motion needs to be put in council to say that councillors and senior officials in eThekwini should not be allowed to take advantage of this 50% discount. And yes, they must be exposed publicly. I know that's difficult because we've got all sorts of legislation. But at the end of the day, these are the officials that have been placed in a fiduciary duty to protect how our money is being spent and to make the right decisions for the benefit of the city. But instead, they are burdening the ratepayers. Our city is falling apart, and we can do nothing about that. We try to take them to court. The city spends our money to fight our cases in court. It's just, this is a completely unfair, unconstitutional system. It does not benefit the people of the city. KZN, eThekwini should be the mother city of the world or of South Africa. But we are failing because we have got the wrong people sitting at the helm running the ship. It is criminal. It is criminal.
Yeah. And I think I must also address, Alison, that in terms of councillors, the report gets sent to the speaker. So the speaker is the one who should hold the councillors accountable because he does get the reports. I think I agree with you that these reports must be made public because this report goes to him as a speaker of council and officials as well. Any official that is owing the city for more than, I think, 90 days, the report gets sent to the head of department. But also, there's now a policy at least where the municipality, when you reach 90 days, they deduct on the salary of an official or an employee that owes the city. But these reports, I think if they are individuals who continuously default, I think there should be a way of addressing that issue so that it doesn't continue over and over, because it can't be fair that officials and councillors are the one at fault in terms of paying what is due to the municipality, while the residents out there are expected to pay within a month, but councillors are sometimes for 60 days. These are big concerns. I think I agree with you. So I need to try and close now because our meeting should be 1 hour. We are now having like 5 minutes to close. I think we are clear now in terms of the mandates and GSA. I will take maybe last hands. Before Saul, I had Musa want to speak. Then after Musa, I see the hand by Saul, then we close.
Thank you, Zogele. Greetings to everyone. Am I audible, Zogele?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much to everyone who's here, especially with the Ratepayers Association representatives. Partially, Zogele, you have covered me because our main focus was on councillors owing the municipality. But again, when we were discussing and listening to some of the concerns in our ratepayers representatives, it gives us responsibilities, especially when it comes to the communication between us as councillors and ratepayers association. Why I'm saying that, as councillors, we are given an opportunity where we are allowed to submit questions in council. So there are a lot of questions that I believe and I feel that we must open or create a line of communication between us and the ratepayers, so that if there's any question that they want to ask in council, as councillors, we take full responsibility of those questions, we submit them, and we know that all the committees, they must answer. Then we'll come back and report to the ratepayers on what was the concern, on what was their concern. Otherwise, thank you so much, and thank you for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. If I miss other hand, I'm not sure. My screen is not really clear. I can't see the hands. But
yes, Chair,
Sean,
can I come in?
I saw your hand.
Chair, Councillor Farouk.
Okay, I will come to you. Let me take Saul. Saul, are you still there?
No, it's not really relative to the budget, but I think the speaker needs to be taken to task because there's a lot of things that he's not doing. Minutes for meetings, all they should be picking up a lot of the things that the councillors aren't doing and not submitting their reports, minutes of meetings, etc. And just not doing that. But I think that's another discussion that I have with you. I fully agree with so far with everyone. No increases and hold people to account. I think that sums up in a nutshell.
Thank you. Then Ahmed.
Yes, Chair, you know, we have heard from all the ratepayers, whoever is in our show this evening, but we will be going to the meeting on Monday, and there's a special meeting because of the budget. We need to have a plan B because we know when we get in there with the bloc, with the ANC, they will have the numbers with the EFF, they will have the numbers and they were going to pass this vote. There's no way, this vote will get passed on Monday. We will object in everything we do object with the DA when it comes to increases and all that. But the issue we need to address is we need a plan B. What are we going to do? Because once it gets passed, then we are hampered. Now we need to bring an application and everything else, and Alison will guide us on that. I was speaking to about 10, 12 business people late this afternoon after I got back from the impact meeting. And they said to me, the budget is coming, what are y'all going to do? They are prepared to put in money, providing we get the right legal team to bring a class action and bring a proper class action. Get advocate Juliet King or somebody, a top advocate who will guide us, get an opinion how to proceed to bring an application to bring the city down to its knees and make sure, even if it gets passed, that should be our next move because this budget will get passed. As far as the 50% is concerned, 36.5 billion is owed to the city. Of that, 19 billion is dodgy. That's why they have introduced this 50%, because that 19 billion you're not going to recover. They have now appointed 8 debt collectors on a commission basis to knock at all those doors. And I'm telling you, you can do whatever you want. You're not going to get that. 19 billion is gone. You're not going to. They can bring the best legal team in the country to sue them. You're not going to get anything out of them. So that's where we are at the moment. So we need to have a plan B after Monday's meeting, Chair.
100% agree with you on that, Ahmed.
Can I add quickly on that?
Okay, quickly.
So I have been obviously racking my legal brain in terms of how we can do a legitimate protest, because that is unfortunately the way we have to go. We have to stop the payment to the city and force that money to go where it needs to go. And if business is prepared to come on board, then we need to have a serious discussion with a decent advocate that will know how to move this application. Protesting is a lawful right. It's our constitutional right to protest. Okay, now paying money to the city is an obligation, it's a tax. But the Rademan case that said you cannot legally withhold your rates, in the obiter dicta, the judge did say, if the resident can prove that the service was not being delivered, they would have grounds to withhold their rates. So if we go to court before we withhold and we say to the court, we want to protest, this is how we want to protest, we will identify infrastructure that has not been repaired. We want to have a moratorium where the rates is collected in a trust account allocated to that project. When that is repaired, the balance goes back to the city. If we can get that precedent set, then I believe we will turn the tide in spending this money wisely rather than unwisely. It will also allow us then to bypass this paying triple the amount for a project that should be far less. So we'll be able to get much more out of that money that we collect and protest to fix a particular, let's say, a particular road or something that needs to be repaired, because we will spend it wisely, as opposed to the current tender system where people are ripping the system apart and ending up costing us more money. So legally, it has to be possible, but we need some more senior advocates to have a look at what does the Constitution say in terms of our right to protest, and especially where it comes to tax payments to the government, and especially in terms of what the judge said in the Rademan case, because it's been set in court. It's been set in the Constitutional Court. The judge was very clear there. So we have to be able to do that. I have emailed an advocate a couple of weeks ago, but I just have not had a chance to brief her on it. She said she was prepared to look at it, but I'm not sure if she's senior counsel. I need to still check on that. I think we need a silk, because eThekwini would bring the top dogs if we had to proceed with the case. So we have to make sure that we've got the right person that understands constitutional law, that understands the right to protest, and that's not afraid to go up against the city. So if business is prepared to come along and put the money in, it's an important precedent that we have to set. And it'll be a precedent set across the country, not just in eThekwini, because it is very needed. All our municipalities are failing.
Yeah, no, what you've said has made so much sense, Alison, because we are on a fast track to
make notes, as you can see here. I now have a clear mandate, and the caucus is also listening. We are clear exactly what you as ratepayers would want us to do. I'm not sure how others will vote. I must correct from what Paruk was saying. I'm not sure how DA would vote. I don't think it's fair to say to her, DA would vote against the party. You don't know how the DA would vote. It's their decision. You don't know what their caucus will decide to do. We can only speak for Action SA, that we will raise our concerns and in a meeting, your concerns actually, because we are here just to hear and get your mandate, hear now what you want us to do, and we'll definitely do as you're requesting. I'm not sure if Alan is still there.
Alan's
Alan
still
there?
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes,
Alan
yes,
Beasley.
I'm still here.
Oh, Alan Beasley, no, off.
Oh, the other one, no, he's not on.
Yeah, Alan jumped off.
Not on the line.
Okay. There we go. He's there.
But thanks everyone for your time. I really appreciate your inputs. They are really valuable, and we don't take them very lightly. We really appreciate even your time. I know that not be spending time with your family, but you put activity first. I think this is not about Action SA, it's about eThekwini. So I really appreciate your time, and thank you, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good night.